Hey guys, it's Michelle here with ihelpmoms.com. Well, if you're a mom like me, I am seeing all over the news the WHO, the CDC, the schools, the school board, the health and wellness administrators. There is so much information that I think at this point, I just want to stop being a Google doctor and I want to go right to the source. So I am so excited today to bring on Dr. Linda Colon of Holistic Pediatrics. So thanks for being on with us, Dr. Colon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Wonderful. Thank you.
I am so excited to have this conversation because I think one of the most important things that parents need to know is how do we boost our children's immune systems during such an important time, Dr. Colon?
Yes, yeah, that is a very important question. I know there's been a lot of focus on the actual virus and medicines to give to fight off the virus, but really we got to go back to basics. Take care of this, take care of our immune system, take care of our body, take care of our eating. Number one thing, food is our medicine. Food could be our poison or food could be our medicine. So I've been emphasizing, I guess more so because I've always talked about the importance of eating healthy and doing things to boost the immune system. But the times have called for us to emphasize it even more as our best protection. So I focus a lot on good eating, as you do as well. Yeah. So I talk a lot about, do you want me to expand on that a little bit?
I would love it. I want to talk about whole food nutrition. I want to talk about, easy ways for parents to make sure that we keep healthy snacks in the house. I would love to talk a little bit more about probiotics. Toonies is where I go to get a lot of my supplements. You and I talked about multivitamins. So I want you to give all of that insider info to our fans today because moms and dads need to know, how do we keep our internal immune system boosted so we can ward off everything on the outside?
Right, right. Well, I first want to applaud and encourage parents who are looking to do that because you're on the right track. You're on the right track, and there's certain things that sometimes feel out of our control, and we don't know. We almost feel as if we almost feel overwhelmed. But for parents who are looking to keep their families healthy by eating healthy, you're on the right track. And there's a lot out there that's available. And the basics, try to do more veggies. In fact, more veggies than fruits, right? Because even though the fruits have their benefits, they also are full of sugar. And sugar is one of those things that lowers our immune system. So if I had to choose between doing veggies and fruits, always veggies. In fact, I even encourage veggies for breakfast. So instead of eggs and bread, let's do eggs and sweet potatoes or eggs and broccoli. All right. So all those leftover veggies from dinner the night before, put them on a breakfast plate. So focusing on those veggies and trying to do less processed foods, right? So less of the things that come from a box. And for sure, again, going back to that concept of minimizing sugar, trying to minimize things like pasta, bread, even the white potatoes, because those are the things that the body turns into sugar. So one thing is to read your labels and look if sugar is number 1, number 2, number 3 on the ingredients list, then no, it's not going in your cart. But the other part is minimizing those foods that your own body is going to turn into sugar, like the bread, the pasta, the rice, white potatoes. So I've been encouraging parents to minimize that. But we have so many other wonderful foods, especially those cruciferous ones, right? Like the Brussels sprouts, the cabbage, broccoli, and we could do so many creative things with it. In fact, listen, as a mommy, I understand that sometimes you have the right idea, but our kids' palate sometimes doesn't want to cooperate. So a couple of thoughts on that. By the way, my kids are now 21 and 20, but I remember the pain of trying to get your kids to eat, the stuff that you knew was healthy for them. So there's an amazing book called Deceptively Delicious. I don't know if you've heard of that book. That's a great book. gives you all these creative ideas on how to work with what they like, how to sneak in the good foods. So I like that book a lot, Deceptively Delicious. There's another one along the same lines called, called The Sneaky Chef. That's another super helpful book because sometimes we're, again, at our wits' end. How do we get our children to eat what they need to eat? The other thing I recommend when you're dealing with a picky eater is good supplements. So not the Pediasure as an example, because again, if you read the labels, you're going to see there's a whole bunch of things there that you can't even pronounce. And remember, the rule is if you can't say it, don't take it, right? So, but along the lines of working with what kids like, smoothies, oftentimes kids like smoothies, right? So you make your smoothies. I'm sure somewhere on your show, on your Instagram, you have these wonderful recipes on how to make wonderful, healthy smoothies. So then to that, you can also add these wonderful food powders, and you probably can give more suggestions, but Garden of Life has some, Amazing Grass has some, Super Greens is another one. But the key thing is always start with a little, right? Because if you overpower your smoothie with the taste of the other thing, then guess what? You're going to have the same problem. They're going to reject it.
Yeah.
So I find that smoothies and those powdered foods super helpful.
Yeah. Oh, I love that suggestion. I think those are awesome. Even Target now, Publix, some of the mainstream stores are carrying some of this stuff, which is awesome. Are you a fan of probiotics? That's something that I have given my kids for a very long time.
Yes.
I would love for you to talk about, I'm a huge fan of DHA. I'm a huge fan of fish oils, cod liver oils. I'd love for you to walk us through why those are so important for kids.
Sure. I mean, there are three things that I always recommend, and then I build on that. But so as far as supplements go, so of course, first we talk about good nutrition, trying to bring a balanced plant-based diet. But we always have to fill in the gaps, either because our food isn't harvested to its optimum, or because we're dealing with a picky eater, or they're teething, or, our schedule is crazy, right? So then you have supplements like a good multivitamin that's plant-based, right? So now you don't want something synthetic. You want something that, when you read the label, it actually says, in addition to the vitamins, it actually also has actual food that's listed. So parsley, spinach, so on and so forth. So plant-based multivitamin. The other thing I like, probiotics. Why? A healthy gut is a healthy immune system. So, and there are many probiotics out there. So, you can talk to your healthcare provider to see which are the optimal ones. Always look for the ones that list a CFU, because that'll let you know that they're actually making sure that they're really live bacteria there. Okay. So probiotics is key. And then the other thing that I always recommend is cod liver oil. And a good one, like let's say Nordic, right? Because they make sure that there's no contaminants. So that's an example of one where they make sure there's no metals, toxic.
Yeah.
So
I'm a huge fan of Nordic. I love it.
Yeah.
Those are so good. Now, one of the things that when I watch all of the media and when I really watch a lot of even the health sources, I'm so surprised they're not talking about sleep and the relation to how important that is for brain rejuvenation and boosting the immune system. Let's just talk about kids that are in elementary school. How many hours of sleep does a 1st to 5th grader really need, or what should we be aiming for? And I know as a mom of 3, my kid's not getting home from soccer till 7:30, which means I still have 3 kids to get down. We're pushing bath, bed, another snack after. So I'm also a real mom. So, I always want our fans to know that, like, this is real talk for real parents, not the perfect social media version of that. So I'd love to hear your feedback on sleep.
Right. Well, so sleep is key, right? Because as you mentioned, that this is when we heal, right? So our body has an opportunity to rest and rev up for whatever's next. Sorry, hold on one second.
No worries.
Okay. So yes, that is vital. That's another thing that I've been talking to my patients about, to my parents about, the importance of trying to keep a routine. So life is crazy, but there's certain things that we always protect, Like we always protect, we always make sure our kids brush their teeth, right? Like we know, like that's just a given that we do that. So taking on that same level of respect and appreciation for the power of sleep. And so as best as possible, let's say a minimum of 8 hours. There's some kids who need 10. So if you have a kid who you're protecting those 8 hours, but they wake up in the morning sleepy, you need to adjust something. There's something more that's needed. And then again, by the way, on a side note, that's assuming that the child doesn't have something like some level of sleep apnea, right? It's that kid who's snoring like an old man, and like that doesn't make sense. So make sure you follow up with that. But let's say they're having a peaceful sleep, and yet they wake up grumpy and it's really hard to get them out of bed. Then consider, no, that child doesn't need 8 hours. Maybe they need 9 hours. Maybe they need 10 hours.
Yeah.
So sort of fine tuning to what that child needs. Very important.
One of the other questions that a lot of parents ask me is, I do use essential oils in my home, and that's just something that's worked well for my 5-year-old. I encourage people, though, to get a real oil expert, because you want to learn how to use those correctly.
Right.
And then a lot of parents ask me about melatonin, and I'm very curious what your thoughts are. I don't know. I think parents don't know, how long do you use them? Is it a short duration? Is it okay?
Right. Yeah, so melatonin, I have to say, I use it and I recommend it very rarely, and because it really is, you're talking about a growing brain, and melatonin is it's a hormone that affects that growing brain. And so sometimes, like a medicine, you may need to use it from time to time, just knowing that it is for a limited period of time. You're going through a rough patch. So, okay, so feel free to use that, always knowing that eventually, let's say, instead of doing it every single night, you're going to start then doing it every other night, and then every 3 nights, until finally you use it once in a blue moon. And that's just to give you a little room, a little wiggle room to start working on the other things, creating routine. I love, let's take, for example, lavender in a diffuser, or maybe dabbed behind the ears, bottom of the feet, behind the neck. Right. So lavender is very calming. So, or maybe having them drink a little chamomile tea. They don't like the taste of chamomile tea. You water it down, figure it out. But that chamomile tea is very soothing. Creating routine that hour before sleep, super important. That's not the time for electronics. It's a time for quiet, maybe a little bit of white noise in the background, soft music. So what are the things that calm your child down. And so creating a routine, protecting those 8 to 10 hours, and then of course paying attention to what they're consuming before, right? Because if there's certain foods like chocolate that have caffeine, guess what? It's going to rev them up, right? So paying attention to what they're eating just a couple hours prior to them going down to sleep. Yeah.
I love your insight. I think for busy parents, our instinct when things start going awry or when stress levels go up is for us to go into overdrive, when really we need to take a step back and we need to build those foundations. You talked about eating whole foods. Take a look in your refrigerator. What are you putting in there? Your kids can't have really access to things if you're not buying them. So, like I always say, I keep a really clean house on purpose, because then they know what they can and can't eat. And I don't always have to say no. And they have a drawer they can always go into with apples and fruits and veggies and eggs and all those things that they can eat on their own. And I don't have to be mean mommy about it. You talked about supplements, you talked about essential oils, you talked about sleep. And again, I love what you say is like, you need to talk to your healthcare provider and partner with them. So instead of going into overdrive, mommy Google doctor, take a step back. And, I really appreciate your approach at Holistic Pediatrics, because you really want to help parents not feel like they're in a cattle mill, but you want to partner with them and look at the whole picture of what is going on with our family. So tell us, where's your office located, and what's your website for parents that want more of a pediatrician to partner with them during this vital time?
Okay, thank you so much for that. I have to say, so again, a pediatrician, board certified 30 years, but my favorite of those 30 years has been the last 10 that I've had more freedom to work with families who are looking for a more integrative approach in their children's health care. And so thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that. So my office, it's in Coral Springs, Holistic Pediatrics. And you know what? I have to say, I don't know my website, but if you look up Coral Springs Holistic Pediatrics, you can't miss it.
Yeah, you can't miss it. You've been here 30 years. It's amazing. And your Instagram, Holistic Pediatrics, is a great resource. I have so enjoyed connecting to you on that. And we'll feature this interview on there too. So I'm excited.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
So
Wonderful.
much, Dr. Kalorn, for keeping our
Thank you,
community
Michelle.
healthy.
Good luck
Talk
to
to
you.
soon.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you for all you do.